So, this is the... It doesn't have a name, actually. It was going to be the Ill-Informed Movie Review Podcast, but I looked online today, and it turns out there's a Misinformed Movie Reviews on YouTube, so I think that's probably too similar. So we're gonna need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, how about it's just insert name here?
Yeah.
Flash it on screen.
Like, hello, I'm Jeffrey.
And I'm Sonny.
And welcome to the show.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about Gung-Ho. Gung-Ho was a movie made in 1986, and it was directed by Ron Howard and starring Michael Keaton. Those are the two big names tied to it. Sonny, this was your idea. You wanted to do this movie because this is, correct me if I'm wrong, a favorite movie of yours from when we were kids. I used to watch this movie a lot. I never actually watched it when we were kids. I watched you watch it, but I never watched it myself. I was never really that interested. Actually, and now that I see it, it's I get why I wasn't into it as a kid. What I'm fascinated about is why you were into it. It's a good
Yeah.
movie. Don't get me wrong. It is a very good movie.
No,
but
I get it. I get it. Yeah.
what was it about it that made you want to watch it over and over?
Well, first, shout out to Gedde Watanabe. He's the other main guy, and he is famous, but not the same way. Like, he's known to be, the silly Asian guy in movies. Like, I think it was 16 Candles, one of those 80s love movies. But he's just such an interesting character to watch as an Asian American, seeing someone kind of break out of the, he's playing the stereotype, but then he plays it, and there's like a lot of sentiment and there's a lot of emotion that happens in the movie, right? Like, there's moments that you really feel for the guy. And I think when I was a kid, I had no idea why I wanted to watch it so much, but that was one of it. One of the reasons was like, oh, this is an Asian guy, and he's not just the butt of a joke. Like, he's experiencing things that, sometimes I feel like, being overlooked a lot of time as an Asian American. We had Asians around us, but being quieter, Asians can be kind of overlooked, and to see him being focused on, right, it was interesting.
That's great. Yeah. I guess you. How old were you when this movie came out?
Well, I don't think we watched it when it came out, but I was, let's see, 86, so I don't know, 7 or 8. But I think when we started watching it was on HBO, so it's probably been out for a few years, so like maybe like 89, 88, 89. So maybe I was like 11 when we started watching.
That's pretty. That's some pretty deep sentiment for 11-year-old. The Gedde Watanabe, almost 100 acting credits to his name. Honestly, I haven't seen most of the stuff that he's been in, but he was really good in this movie. You know what else he was in? You so stupid.
What? Yeah, right. I forgot. That's
UHF.
right.
UHF, yeah.
And see, that's the point. Like, he always plays the butt of the joke kind of, Asian roles. But he got to play that same role, but then still had like a really expressive role in that. So interesting.
Yeah. I feel like Ron Howard really did justice to his character, and maybe to kind of like showing both sides of the cultural divide.
I think he goes by Gedde, by the way. I think it's
Gedde.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, I probably pronounced it wrong. Yeah, it's Gedde. Yeah. Yeah. So what I want to do is go into a little bit of historical background of like what was going on in the world at the time that maybe this movie was being written and then produced. Just looking at like economic news. In February 1985, the Dow Jones Industrial Average reached a record high. This was under the Reagan administration, kind of known for, you know,
Reaganomics.
Reaganomics, very strong economic policies, thriving economy. There was a thriving economy, but there was a sense that the economic benefits weren't being shared equally throughout the economy. The rich were getting richer, but then the poor middle class maybe weren't doing so well. So in 1986, Japan's per capita GNP was 93.5% of the United States. By the end of 1987, Japan's per capita GNP would surpass the United States. So, all this is to say, at the time this movie was being written and produced, there was a lot of anxiety, especially among the middle class and poor, about job instability due to foreign competition, in particular Japan. Do you have anything to add to that?
As a kid, I don't think I was thinking about economics so much. No, but it was an interesting time. I was very aware of, I'll just say vibes. Like I understood kind of the prevailing thought of the adults, which was there was thriving, right? But there was blue class thriving. All our neighbors and everyone, I just got that vibe. And the worries were more about, I remember one of our neighbors remarking, what are we going to do with this generation, you know? And I kind of got that sense, you know, as the years grew on, like this feeling like this, we're such a different generation, you know, that those parents versus us. So
Yeah.
it was true.
Yeah. You lived through the end of the Cold War.
Yeah. Oh, that was yeah, that was a threat. So yeah, we'd have drills, right? Like now they're just earthquake drills. So they would be bomb drills, right? You get under the desk because there could be a nuclear weapon that went off.
So I remember the earthquake drills. Were they just telling us that there were earthquake drills because they didn't want to explain what the hell a nuclear bomb was to a bunch of kindergartners?
I feel like I was aware of it though. I mean, maybe they just did it and just said an earthquake drill, but like I feel like I was aware of the fact that there could be a nuclear bomb. And you know, it was like what was it, 87 or something when the Berlin Wall fell? Berlin Wall fell. Was it
Yeah,
87?
I suppose. I think 89. It could be 87. Yeah, maybe. I don't feel like googling it, but 87. I was in kindergarten. Before we get started, I want to go through a synopsis. I want to explain what's going on with this movie. Like I said, this is Gung-Ho, released in 1986, directed by Ron Howard. So Gung-Ho takes place in the fictitious town of Hadleyville, Pennsylvania. Now, in Hadleyville's golden years, it had a thriving economy with the dual focus on making okay cars and really good underwear. After the underwear factory was muscled out of existence by Big Underwear, with their low quality elastic bands that apparently chafed the wearer's hindquarters, the town became almost solely reliant on its auto factory. However, as luck would have it, unable to keep up with the foreign competition, I'm assuming this is the reason. They never actually say that, but the auto factory is forced to shut down. This is all happens before the movie takes place. So you fast forward 9 months later. This is the beginning of the movie. Hunt Stevenson, played by Michael Keaton, is traveling to Japan in order to try to convince the executives of Asan Motors to use Hadleyville's auto plant to produce their automobiles for the U.S. market. En route to this meeting, Hunt happens across Takahashi Kazuhiro, a young, struggling salaryman at a screaming retreat in Tokyo, which was organized to shame certain executives. Mr. Kazuhiro is clad in ribbons of shame, pinned all over his clothes, while he begs another man, presumably a senior executive, to forgive him for his vast failure. Hunt Stevenson gives Kazuhiro very helpful advice here regarding the ribbons, saying, I'd wear those on the inside if I were you. I don't know if this was meant to be, like symbolic or something, like maybe saying, like, Americans wear their shame on the inside, whereas the Japanese wear it on the outside. Or
Yeah.
maybe it was just
Oh, you know, it's
maybe it was
funny.
just
That sorry to break the synopsis, but really quick, I relate with both the characters. First of all, but that is true. Like they're kind of showing where they're coming from right there, and he is saying kind of what later is the problem with him, right? He hides
yeah.
things on the inside.
Actually, that scene was a pretty good. It was pretty good because it kind of it's the first time you see like that clash of the two, like East meets West.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kazuhiro is very formal, obviously, bowing, apologizing, and then Stevenson comes in very over the top, casual American, saying, "Hey, how's it going, guys? You got a little spit on your lip."
Get the other side. Is it? Yeah. All right.
Both sides were way over the top, but this being comedy, that's what you'd expect. Anyway, going back to the synopsis, so Hunt finally makes his way to the meeting with the executives, who are an inscrutable bunch who are highly put off by Hunt's casual Americanness. He makes his pitch. This is a great town with really hard workers, but doesn't get much of a reaction.
Wait, can I make a note?
Uh, yeah, yeah,
You
go
said that they didn't take to him. Is that right?
Yeah, well, presumably that's the
Yeah.
feeling that the audience gets, and also the Hunt gets.
Right. Yeah.
But I think at the inside they were very moved.
Yeah. That's the funny thing.
It's like really,
Yeah.
but very moved in a Japanese way.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Hunt returns home, and as he's driving home from the airport, his girlfriend Audrey asks him how it went, and he says, "Remember the first time I met your dad, and he came after me with the power sander? It didn't go quite that well." Feeling that his bid has failed, but it's not failed because it turns out the executives of Asan Motors were deeply moved by Hunt's pitch because they agreed to take over the factory to produce their automobiles in Hadleyville.
Sorry, I messed up your setup for your reveal there. Go ahead.
It's okay. um, Giving the town a chance at survival and maybe prosperity down the line. And who? Can you hear the rumbling? By the way, my kids are clog dancing upstairs. Um, And who has come all the way from Japan to lead the new team of managers? None other than Mr. Kazuhiro, the young shamed salaryman that Hunt had briefly met at the Screaming Retreat in Tokyo. This will be Kazuhiro's last chance at redemption to show that he is a good leader and a smart businessman. But if the venture fails, and if he fails, he will become a disgraced executive with his career essentially over. As production gets underway, the American workers clash with the Japanese managers, and we see the stark juxtaposition of two sharply different approaches to work. The American approach, with the focus on work life balance, individualism, and job satisfaction, and the Japanese approach, which is company first, pride in work, and zero defect. As Kazuhiro says at one point, company is everything. That is what has raised us from a conquered nation to an economic power. Can these two philosophies coexist, or must one overpower the other? In the end, I don't think this is a spoiler, but in the end, not only can the two philosophies coexist, but they synthesize into an approach that is perhaps greater than the sum of the two philosophies separately. The American workers and the Japanese workers obtain synergy.
I like they use that very corporate word, but it's so true though. It's like it's a good description of what happens.
I like the movie. I This is my first time seeing it all the way through. I think you like the movie. Saw it a billion times. So, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's funny. I also like when movies are time capsules of the times they're in, and intentionally or not, like it captures the energy of that time. Like the actors are playing blue collar workers, but that was America then.
Yeah,
Like that was the Bruce Springsteen time. Factory workers with their radios and pumping their fists and getting to work. Like there's something so wholesome about that, and they capture it so well. Uh,
Yeah. Just sorry to interrupt, but Michael Keaton does a great job of kind of like the charismatic, like team builder type guy, almost like a union, union leader, even though he's not the union leader. And actually, the actual union leader is kind of pushed aside and done away with very very early. But he's
yeah,
so good in this movie.
well, like what Ron Howard's brother, I forget his name. He's in all of Ron Howard's movies. He's like,
Yeah, it's
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking, I'm talking to Hunt. He's one of us. He knows them. Like, that's to your point. It's he's a worker, but he leads them, right? And in the beginning he gets an executive position. He's all excited about it, but the true him is like a worker, and them both I think are that way. Them both want to be connected. Kaz wants to be connected to the people the way Hunt is. Like he admires that. He just doesn't admit it outright.
just realized I forgot one of my cameras.
No, it's fine. I don't think the movie is trying to be as deep as I'm taking it. It's just that it's not normal for cinema to portray this, and this is us. Like this is American and Asian cultures coming together and producing something. That's us, right? And so it's more normalized now, but back then it was like, wait a minute, this feels like I get the desire for someone who wants to hide their shameful thing. It's like he's very insecure and he wants to do good, and he's like thinks he failed, but no, it turns out he did good, And this like wishy-washy and trying to live in that like kind of chaos and trying to be a troop rallier at the same time. And then Kaz, who's in this world of like kind of fear and anxiety and judgment, but he's also wanting to help his fellow man. I feel like I can relate, even though we're Filipino. There is something relatable about the way all Asians have this kind of social pressure that other people don't understand, and so to see that come together on film, I don't know. I think that's why I kept watching it. But I also think it's just because it's just a good movie. Like it's wholesome, it's fun, and yeah.
Talking to your point about cause of the world that he's in. There's a very good scene where he's and I like that they showed the family lives of both characters. It definitely felt like there was dual leads in this. Instead of it being just a Michael Keaton movie, but there's
Yeah,
a good scene with him. He's at home talking to his wife, and she comes home. She's got a box
from Sears
that's yeah, as a
or
bicycle,
America
and
Shops.
wants wants them to um, build the bicycle for his son, and he says, I can't do that right now. I'm busy, and he's got papers that he's looking through, and he's clearly very busy. And then she gets mad at him, starts throwing stuff on the table, and they get into an argument. And then he gets a call from his big boss. His name's
Sakamoto.
but anyway, you could see him being chewed out by his boss, kind of like the shame uh, that he feels from not being able to raise production. His wife very sympathetic in that moment. It's she I think she understands at that time what he's going through, and then and
Yeah.
it makes the next scene after that more understandable. I think the next scene is where he fires Hunt, quote unquote, even though it
Mm-hmm.
lasts for about five seconds.
Just really a quick note. Those scenes are the things I'm talking about. They're like these vignettes on that character, right? Like
Yeah.
you get to really kind of focus. And I love the music that they play. It's just I don't even know what it is. It's just like a. It sounds Eastern, but it's not. I'm not sure what it is, but it always kind of draws you in while the camera moves in.
No, no, no. That's yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about that. So it's like for me, that's very 80s and 90s cinema. It's like that, you know, human moments,
Yeah.
and also something that I associate with Ron Howard. Um, Maybe more recently with oh God, no, I can't remember his name. The guy who did the Social Network. I'll look it up. I'll make it look like I'm saying it right now. This movie had a budget of like $13 million, right? Which is like
Fincher, sorry. The director is Fincher, David Fincher.
Fincher. No, Social Network. Um, Small budget, but just focusing on like the personal stuff, showing humans being humans. And it's really well done, and I feel like if you made a movie like this today, it'd just be kind of a bigger story. One thing I did want to say about Hunt Stevenson, he's not he's not a perfect guy. He's flawed. He deeply cares about the town and his workers, but also he's egotistical, self-serving sometimes. Like the scene where he gets fired by Kaz, and then he just all of a sudden turns around and he says like, I think he's just said like, "There's no one else who can get these guys to."
Yeah. His arc is so. Sorry to cut you off. His arc is kind of what makes the movie so good. I mean, Kaz's character is too, but like his arc is kind of what I think, as far as his character goes, that's what I relate with the most. Is like you want to do good, you have a pattern. So he has a flaw that he can't acknowledge until it's just too late. And then when he finally acknowledges it, he mans up and he confesses, right? And that's such a strong thing, and it's hard. It's really hard to do that, and it's hard
Yeah,
to even to say that's the right thing to do nowadays. Honestly, like it's like you can talk yourself out of anything nowadays, but back then it just felt like, okay, this is right. Like you got to get up in front of everybody and say you're wrong, right?
yeah,
It's such
absolutely.
a strong moment.
Yeah, that was a good scene. One scene that I really like, that very illustrative of its fatal flaw, is Turturro, was named John Turturro, finds out that there's no deal for 13,000. He calls him up. He says, "There's no deal for 13,000. I'm getting all the guys. We're gonna come get you."
Yeah, the way he drops the phone. Oh man, I laugh every time. It's so
It's
good. It's
it's a
so
great
good.
scene. He gets his
Yeah.
goldfish, and he's climbing into the climbing into the sunroof of his car. And then, yeah,
the,
that
the the door handle breaks.
yeah, not not at all. Sticking around to do the right thing or face the music or whatever. Just like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
The thing is like his flaw, because he's such a lowly person for most of it. His flaw, it serves him it serves him enough to get by, right? And he can
Mm.
kind of ride on some victories in the past. But when he's faced with the town's survival now, right? So his character needs to be at a different level. And so
Yeah,
it's like, he's being primed for that. At the same time, he's being set up by himself. So it's just an interesting thing to see on screen, that this kind of thing. And because Kaz, he kind of expresses exactly what Hunt is going through later when he sees him freaking out, before he freaks out and jumps in the water, and he's like, I'm ruined, and I've destroyed the whole, your whole city, and this and that, and I've had enough. He's freaking out, and that's exactly what Hunt did. Like he knows that this is his fault, so they're kind of coming together at that point. All right, and it's funny. It's just too much symbolism for me, but they're jumping in the water together, right? It's almost like they're going to come out of that different, right? Of course, they're probably not thinking that when they're making the movie. I look for all these kind of symbols, and so
kind of like a transformation of the
yeah,
water's
they're going through
transformative.
the Dark Knight, right? So it's
Yeah,
a typical screenwriting thing, but they're both coming out of that and then they're both saying, "Yeah, me too. I wanted that. We could do better. Me too." And then they go on and do it. It's so good.
and I think that's the maybe the American can do spirit that he talks about. And he's kind of like, yeah, they just go in, the two of them, and they're gonna build 1,000 cars.
Yeah, except he was lying to them when he said that.
Yeah,
I think it's he's lying to them, right? He's gassing them up in that in that union meeting. He's kind of just saying whatever he can to really get them behind him. Saying that we got to get it back. They have it. I think it's obvious that they're different, right? Like they don't have the American spirit. They have something else.
yeah.
It feels impossible to beat that, right? But it feels good to hear someone saying we can do it. And so he is good at that.
Like when he's at the first meeting where he talks about the basketball story and he gets everybody all riled up, and like you said, he's good at that. He's good at I guess motivating people. But
Yeah.
as far as like giving the people a hard truth when they need it, I guess that was what he was lacking, the ability to do that. And he kind of comes to terms with that. He even says that when he's in the park, and he says, if I was a real leader, I would have told you this from the beginning, but instead I was telling you basketball stories."
Yeah.
And then he tells the same basketball story at the end.
Yeah, then, yeah. It's so good. I mean, it's just saying like he doesn't he only has a small like hand to play with, right? And he just keeps going back to what he can because in his
Yeah,
lowly state, those things work. But now he's up against, this big thing and but he does it and Sakamoto likes his character despite that. He knows how silly this is, but he's like, "You're making me laugh. I like you."
Sakamoto is the boss, right?
The big
Big
boss, yeah.
boss.
But I want to say also what I also like about this pressure is even though there's a right answer with this, there's no right answer when your back's against the wall. Like choose family, or choose your work, right? It's easy to say, well, you choose your family, right? Okay, but then what if the work just goes away and then you can't support it?
Yeah,
It's not that there's no easy answer. Sometimes there's no right answer. Like you're gonna fail because you're between a rock and a hard on. As a
yeah. That was Mrs. Kazuhiro
yeah,
practicing her American idioms. Yes.
yeah, she's like practicing her slang. But yeah, I like that it's a pressure cooker. Like it's like hopeful in the beginning, but it's like clear there's problems, but you got to make it through it. How are you gonna make it through it? Well, you just do like you do the way you do any kind of hard work. Like you just work. Everyone's gonna fight. People are gonna fight, and you got to make it through it. And yeah, that is America, I think.
Keep
Yeah,
fighting even when you're losing.
yeah, and apologize. Get up, apologize. In his scene, but also just everyone that you're in the pressure cooker with, you're gonna have to apologize at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that the Japanese are better at is apologizing.
I, you know, are they? I'll just say like Asians are, in general. There's apologizing, but then the deeper apologizing. That sometimes there's a pride. I think that can be. That's not like Americans have a bravado, but there's a skin layer, a thin. No, that's not good. A thin layer to a thin layer to them entering into apology. Whereas Asians apologize up front, but there's a thick layer to the true heart of apology sometimes because there's a lot of pride.
One thing I want to say about seeing Japan at the beginning of this movie, there's a joke. Japan's been living in the year 2000 since 1990. Apparently, Japan's been living in the year 2000 since 1986. Because I looking at it, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between Tokyo that I'm seeing on screen and Tokyo today.
Yeah, a note on that: the average Japanese are very aware of their economics, right?
Yeah,
Exactly what you're talking about. Everyone knows that. It's like a zombie state that they've been in. Yeah, if you ask Japanese, they're aware of this. I just wanted to bring up the baseball thing. I mean, maybe it's obvious that they're going to do baseball, but it's just such a great thing because of I how special baseball is in Japan,
yeah,
right? So special that later now Americans are very aware of how good Japanese are with baseball. Like we have players from Japan, right? But at that time, it's like, what are these? They look like the Yankees, right? This is the joke, and these are very American, blue collar workers that play baseball. It's a very normal thing, and here are these Japanese coming in looking like the Yankees, and um, just a great set piece, I guess. Having that moment with the clash of something
Yeah,
very American, and then Japan taking that and making it their own, right?
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, yeah, it's almost like a metaphor for the Japanese taking over the in the auto industry. One theme I very much like in this movie is kind of like the underdog, kind of like the last chance at redemption. Um, Hunt Stevenson, I mean, really for him, it's town. The town's failing. This might be the last chance for the town to, get its feet back under it. And then with Cause, obviously, it's the fact that he needs to prove himself as a leader and a businessman, and he hasn't done that in the past. And the fact that they've all got long odds against they've both got long odds against them. And the scene where they go to the bar and they're kind of like talking about like you know their troubles and how screwed they are.
yeah,
That's the kind of that's the illustration of that theme that one of the things I really like about this movie.
yeah. I also like watching this now. I'm like, it's interesting that they put it in the way they did. First of all, it's a great vignette. Again, you get to zoom in on the characters, but they're depicting also the culture, right? Because that is Japanese culture. Like, you can't say anything at work, but they'll go, and it's expected that you're going to go and drink, and they'll be very open, right?
Yeah,
But then the next day, no one talks about it. Like, it's just their time to talk, to express themselves. But that's not how Americans think. They go to the bar, you know, they talk their worries, but they go the next day and they're like, yeah, we need to talk about that thing we talked about.
yeah, like you said, they're expected to you know show up early, stay late. It's like the scene with the fella, the Japanese guy, the manager who his wife was having a baby, and Kazuhiro it says to the Sakamoto, um,
Yeah.
he'd like to go be with his wife because she's having a baby, and then he says, "No, I want to stay here and work." Yeah, I can really believe that things like that happen
From your
in
experience there.
Japan. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think they got the notes right, but then the screenwriting is a little off. Like the interactions, I don't think Ken would have, or so I could call him Ken, but Kaz, I don't think he would have walked up to his boss and said that. But
Yeah,
it's it's good for the screenplay to play out the way it is. They probably couldn't have done the subtlety of the way that it would have transpired in Japan. Or would he have even said that? Like, does this character even really exist? Like, is there a cause that really exists like that? You know?
sure, sure. But he also has, as he admits, a lot of American ideas. So
Yeah,
maybe his approach wouldn't necessarily be like the standard Japanese approach. He's kind of an iconoclast, maybe.
yeah, yeah. It's little things. So, like, also not the tangent, but in Crouching Tiger, which I hope we watch and talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah, we should do that one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of interaction. Like they're sort of holding hands and talking about their feelings that they just wouldn't do in China. And it sounds funny because it's like, oh, isn't it a Chinese film? But it was actually an American production, and they talk about it in the back when DVDs had director commentary. They're talking about it. They're like, yeah, Chinese wouldn't actually act like this, but it works for the screen, right? And the same thing happens, I think, with that moment when the wife hugs him. I mean,
Yeah,
I can see it happening, but it's not necessarily the most Asian thing, right? So
yeah. I mean, also, one scene with one couple, they're not necessarily going to do the most stereotypical thing.
yeah, I mean they're in America, so they're probably I don't know. There's a lot of nitpicking you can do. I think they did great with what they had. They took the notes, which were, this is how Japanese act, and then they made
Yeah,
some scenes that are nice and powerful. So, and it sounds funny to say it's powerful because I think this movie is not respected in that way. I'm like, it's so sad because there's so many moments where I'm like, man, you could tear up. Like they're just
yeah,
so, they're so real, these moments.
yeah. I'll say that the first time I watched this movie, which was about a week ago, like I didn't really like. I thought it was okay. Second watch through, I really liked it. I really came on board. Now after this discussion, I'm definitely a fan. Like I think this is a great movie. Classic
Nice.
Michael Keaton stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ron Howard with
Hmm.
his very human moments and stuff that you don't fortunately you don't see enough of in movies, I think, anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and we didn't really note the tension that was happening during their, like their duck hop, and everyone's like, duck hop, what is this? We came here to work, and they're exercising, and I've actually experienced that. I worked at a job where we did exercise in the morning, and it was because the owners went to Japan, were like impressed by that, came back and started doing that, and yeah, interesting watching that collision, them just totally horseplaying that thing, and you can imagine it, the Japanese getting so mad, and then by the end the Japanese are, pumping their fists, walking through the factory, dancing to the music. It's like, oh man, it's so good.
Oh, there is a good part with Kazuhiro there when he talks to Hunt. He says, as the Vener Navi says, "I don't blame you, even though you are the leader." It's very very Japanese way of yeah, very Japanese way of saying I blame you.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
He does that a few times. Like when he can play he can play Hunt. They kind of like I guess speaking to his pride or his ego. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
and maybe Hunt doesn't realize it because Hunt is more blunt. He's he doesn't necessarily look at what's being said below the surface.
Right, right. Yeah, he's not he talks like he knows how to play the game, but he's a very surface level person.
Any you have any other notes on this before we get into the quotables?
No, notes. Let's see. The surveillance camera. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, when he hits the surveillance camera.
Or when they put him up, and when they're making fun of the way
Oh,
they're eating food with chopsticks. I remember feeling so angry, and still when I see that, I'm like, ugh, it's so
yeah,
annoying.
that's
You know?
yeah. It doesn't look good on camera. It looks mean spirited.
Yeah, but it's still a thing. Like I've experienced that firsthand, and I just know that feeling.
Yeah,
But at the same time, so I've experienced that, and it's just interesting to see it on screen.
yeah. So there's I got a few favorite quotes from here, and I just want to read these before we part. So these are the quotables. You said this one already. Between a rock and a hard on from Mrs. Kazuhiro. Um, and then when they're talking about playing baseball, the first time Hunt says, "We play for beer, and afterward we piss for distance." And then Kazuhiro kind of gives him a look and he says, "For us, it's accuracy." Oh, I like this one. Oh, so they're in the river, and the executives all bathe in the river, and the Hunt shows up, and he says, "We need an incentive program." And then one of the executives says, "What we need is faster workers." And Hunt says, "What we need is a fish to come along and bite your pecker off."
Saito. Yeah, that was the nephew of the boss.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was my favorite line of the whole movie. Just Almost kind of a throwaway line, but I think Michael Keaton just delivered it so perfectly. Just the
Yeah.
timing of it was like this is great.
Yeah, Michael Keaton he's got a really good knack for playing that obnoxious American in a lovable way. I don't know, you just can't
Yeah.
hate him.
Anyway, the last one I have here, it says, "So if you're so great, how come you lost the big one?" Um,
Yeah.
which wasn't a funny line, but it's one that took me a second to figure out what he was saying because I think anyone in modern days doesn't wouldn't call it the big one. I think in 1985, 1986, there might still be people like old enough to call World War II the big one, but it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I didn't look it up this time, but I remember looking it up before, and I remember thinking like they must be talking about World War II. But yeah, I guess it's so at that time. What, only 40 years after the war?
Yeah, yeah. And
The Cold
Cold
War?
War was still, yeah, the Cold War was still going on, and that was kind of like a direct result of the big one. So I guess the big one is still in people's
Yeah,
minds, even if it had been decades before. But
yeah. 40 years is not that long. Like I remember 40 years ago, that was this movie. So that's funny. It was equidistant from the war, from that time to now in the war. Equidistant. Um, I think everyone just delivers their lines in such a punctuated way. You know, my eggs, your eggs. You know, like when you get because it's
actually that one actually was
like
pretty good.
yeah, everything's just quotable. It's like I think that's why another reason I watch it so much is like I like movies not that they're quotable, but like you feel like you're with someone. Like like we'll say certain things repeatedly, and it's like it just some of them is pop culture, but sometimes we just say things and it just brings us back or whatever. So it kind of feels like you got a friend in the room when you hear something, and it's not just the soundtrack. And I don't just mean the music. I mean the soundtrack, the noises, the voices, the way people say things. It it stays with you in a way. The timbre of things, and I was thinking about that with Grandma. Like I'll say some things, and Grandma will chuckle. But she won't fully. She doesn't fully understand everything, but she just would chuckle because she knew she was with us all the time. Like we were a TV to her in a sense. Like she just knew the little things we were saying, and she'd laugh. So yeah,
Well, I'm glad we started with this movie. This was a pleasant surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect, but the more I see this movie, the more I love it. So thank you for
yeah,
introducing me to this movie.